Hi, good evening, everyone. Hi, welcome, Sunita. I'm just going to, hey Raji, I'm just going to send you an invitation to join. An invitation. Let me try again. Hello.
Hi, Akila.
Hi. So lovely to see you here.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me.
The pleasure is entirely mine. Thank you so much for accepting our invitation
Oh,
and,
not at all, not
you
at
know,
all, Akila.
doing this at, a fairly strange hour of the day, like 9 p.m.
And it's just the end of the day for me at my clinic, so the timing is perfect for me.
That's great. It's also we are also like winding down. I just want just quickly introduce you to everyone here. Sunita Menon is a counselor psychotherapist who specializes in CBT and sex therapy. And we are here to be in conversation with Sunita because we are actually, for those who don't know, exploring the idea of leisure under our ALAP's umbrella campaign, which deals with the calendar of emotions. So, Sunita, every month in 20, we have been exploring one emotion, and we've sort of been seeing how it's relevant in the context of arts and artists. Um, in July, which is also the middle of the year, we decided sort of explore the idea of leisure and leisure in the of how it is really, really crucial for arts and creative people and artists really to see um, the importance of playing hard as you work, the importance of doing nothing, the importance of idleness, the importance of all of this for and how it has a sort of a direct impact on your mental health. So we really keen I was keen, when I sort of started curating the edition, is to have a counselor, therapist, to sort of chat a little bit about why leisure is so crucial, especially in the sort of worlds that we inhabit, right? So start off, Sunita. I'm going to deep dive straight away, and I'm going to
Yeah.
start off by you, like mental health in the last, I would say, at least 5 to 7 years has really, really, assumed importance. People are talking about it. People are more vocal about it. What is your take, and do you see this as a very positive sign? Because I do think that it's great that people are actually now talking about the importance of mental well-being, even in workplaces, personal lives, all of that. So I just wanted to firstly, ask you to set that context.
Um, I'm going to say this, Akila, that it's about time mental health is given attention. So I'm really glad people are now giving it far more importance than they would earlier. But I think we just can't take mental health out of context, because if you were to look at a person's well being, it involves physical health, sexual health, and mental health, right? A lot has been said and written about physical health. I mean, forget illness and disease, but now physical health is more on diet, fitness.
Absolutely.
This whole many paradigms added, right, to physical health, and so also for sexual health. Take the sex toy industry, or take the pharmacological help that sexual dysfunctions are getting, or
Right.
take ethical pornography. So sexual health has also been given a lot of importance. So why not mental health? Because all three together go towards defining a person's well-being.
Right.
But having said that, uh, even today we talk much about mental health means mental illnesses, mental disorders, and mental issues. We still are not talking about what we must do in order to prevent such things from happening, right? More preventive. We are right now focused more on curative and treatment and all of that when we talk about mental health. But we don't
Right.
do the same with physical health and sexual health.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
lot of focus is on preventive. So I think mental health too, we should focus on what can we do to ensure we have healthy mental health.
Right. So, Sunita, in that context, would you think that self-care is an important aspect of that? Because, also in many of us, including me, really struggle with sort of, always justifying the need for self-care, almost almost feeling guilty for taking time off for rest and recovery. So would self-care sort of really be crucial for just the way you talked about, physical health, and you work out and you do a bunch of things for physical health? So would self-care and practicing a self-care routine be one of the aspects that would sort of lead to mental health, like mental well-being?
Yeah, absolutely. I think self-care is important. We need to make it a part of our daily routine, right? Like in the clinic, something what I advocate all my clients focus on is a body budget, what we call. You know, a body budget would include your sleep, your sufficient sunlight, keeping yourself hydrated, exercising, diet, and the sixth one would be time for yourself. So it's about every day making that time. You can't say that, hey, I'm going to work my butt off and then, I mean, forgive my language, I'm going to work really hard and then I'm going to relax. No, it doesn't happen that way. Self-time, self-care should be a part of your daily routine, which means a part of your body budget, is what I would advocate.
That's so true. So what would sort of qualify, Sunita, under like the whole umbrella of self-care? Is reading a book, time for yourself, getting a walk, is that all part of the self-care routine?
Whatever keeps your boat afloat, right? Because it is a very unique experience. I'd like to believe that self-care is all about experience. So whatever best suits you. For somebody, it could be just curling up under the blanket with a book, or for someone, it could be just lying on the couch and watching some web series. For someone, it could be even walking their dog. You know, so whatever suits you, but it's an experience. I think we need to focus on that fact that it is something I do in order to disconnect from my otherwise mundane routine.
Right, absolutely. Also, this whole idea of disconnect, right? We're also, in a certain way, would you agree that you meet so many different clients, and obviously, like, do you feel that everyone is sort of grappling with constantly being plugged in? And I also speak on behalf of artists, because now artists also sort of constantly use social media, they're building brand on social media. And while it's all really so crucial, how does one sort of, unplug? And what, according to you, is the sort of crucial need to unplug, even for the way it impacts the brain and the nerves and all of that?
That would be kind of black and white thinking, right? Staying plugged and unplugging. I don't think we either need to be plugged in or unplug ourselves. Everything in moderation is fine. Yeah.
Right.
But I'll say this about people who are professionals from the creative world. Yeah. Because in my clinic, I see right from dancers and musicians, writers to people from the movie fraternity, and so the entire gamut of, I would say, creative people. For them to stay unplugged is a little difficult.
Right.
Because creative, first and foremost, creative people don't have a 9 to 5 job.
Right.
Yeah, either they are overwhelmed with work, you know, over a period of time, and then they have a period when there is no work at all. So which means that is staying unplugged. But unfortunately, with creative people, at least from my experience in the clinic, I find that the moment they don't have work, there is that little break that they're getting between projects. They get very perturbed and very disturbed. So then we find there are a lot of overcompensatory behaviors they indulge in, one of which is social media. I think it's the need to stay relevant, the need to get approval, and all of which. So asking them to unplug, I would be doing them a disservice if I told my creative clients to do that, you know. So everything in moderation, everything is fine, but as long as you know when to stop, and how much is enough.
Right, absolutely. I mean, we also live in a world where it's really impossible to sort of not have a presence on social media. I mean, almost impossible. So I think, like you rightly said, moderation. So I want to talk a little bit about your take on the idea of leisure. You know, we've curated leisure as an emotion, and I remember that one of the dancers that I interviewed weeks ago asked me a very curious question about how is leisure even an emotion? Like, why did you sort of add leisure as an emotion? And I told her that to me, because it's just like, you know, my sort of my calendar of emotions, I felt like leisure was like this ideal, this fantasy that I am chasing as a person who's extremely busy. And it was my opportunity or my own quest to see and to sort of explore, to meet people and to understand why it's imperative to sort of once in a while, every once in a while, kind of pause and stay anchored and say that it's okay, like life will just go by and I just want to sit down and enjoy a cup of tea. So from that perspective, we curated leisure. But I'm curious to like sort of hear your thoughts on the idea of leisure.
As I said earlier, leisure is an experience. We need to look at it as an experience. It's not an activity. Yeah. So some people take leisure very seriously, and even that is put into their calendar. It
Is that a
doesn't
good?
work. I don't know whether it's a good thing, but I'll say this: leisure is something that you have to experience, which means essentially you bring out the child in you. It's spontaneous. It's fun. It's a happy thing that you're doing, and it's a choice you're making. So there's a lot of free will involved. There are no markers or what would I say? No factors to measure productivity.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So leisure has none of this. And it's not about, as I said earlier, leisure is something that you have to put in at regular intervals. Uh, Sometimes to drive home a point with my client, I use metaphors. I'm sorry, I'm going to use one with you too.
Yes.
I don't know whether you know this fable of the ant and the grasshopper.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah. So for your viewers who some of them might not know this, yeah. So I'm just going to quickly say. So it's about the ant who's working the entire summer storing grain for winter, and there's the grasshopper sitting on a tree stump, strumming away at an instrument and singing in the sun, and then boom, winter comes, and the ant is all smug in the ant hole because it has saved enough to see through winter. And one fine day, the grasshopper is starving. And so the grasshopper comes and knocks on the ant's door and says, "Hey, can you give me something to eat?" And the ant says, "Well, hey, I work hard and I've stored stuff for myself. You know, the whole of summer. What were you doing in summer?" So the ant said, "Hey, I was like singing in the sun." And so the ant says, "Well, then go and dance in the snow." But we were led to believe as children, the moral of the story is be like the ant. Hardworking, saving up for a rainy day, for old age and all of that. Hey, but somewhere, where was leisure for the ant? Where was the downtime for the ant?
That's true.
Even
I
in
mean,
winter. What's it doing in winter? It's just sitting there smug that I have enough grain. What's the quality of the life that the ant is leading? I'd rather be like the grasshopper, because the grasshopper, though the grasshopper was singing all summer, it was not on an empty belly, so it was also getting enough food to eat and singing. There was some kind of a balance there. Yeah, in winter, of course, the poor grasshopper had nothing to eat. So I think there's a lot to take away from this fable. The ant and the grasshopper are on either end of the spectrums. We need to be somewhere in between. Yeah. Where we make leisure an intrinsic part of our routine, you know. It's not something that we keep away for much later.
Right. I mean, that's so beautiful. Actually, I was really taken aback because I was just reading this story out to my son about 3 years ago, and I told him that you have to be like the ant. Now I have to revisit.
That's what we all told, right, while growing up.
I have to now tell him be like the grasshopper. Some of the things that you said, Sunita, that really struck me. One was about leisure being an experiential sort of
Yeah.
um, process. Also, the freedom. You use the word freedom
Yeah.
from lack of performance, right? Freedom
Mm.
from performance, deadline. Also, being happy and joyous, right?
Mm-hmm.
Dancers that I interviewed, I think also told about this whole sort of intersection of the idea of freedom and
Mm-hmm.
a sense of intensity that can come together. Intensity.
Okay. Freedom and intensity. Okay, got you.
She said, like, I could actually be creating something really beautiful, like creating work,
Mm-hmm.
um, and have the freedom also to not have to sort of create it under pressure of either a performance or a deadline, to feature this somewhere, showcase this somewhere. So I'm in the moment, but I am in an intense moment, and that also for me is leisure.
I'm happy. I'm very happy for this dancer. I'm really happy because there are very few people in this world who get a lot of joy from their profession. You know, that joy, the kind of joy that feeds your soul. Yeah,
Right.
yeah. When I advocate leisure activities to my clients, I always tell them just ensure it has nothing to do with your profession. It's totally different from your profession. That's very important, I think. The second thing I tell my clients is when you have a leisure activity, yes, one can be for fun, to feed your soul, to bring out your free child, but the
Yeah.
other one needs to also be an altruistic act, what you do for leisure, because somehow altruism gives us a lot of self-validation, and that's also a feel good, so leisure is not about me having fun, it's also me ensuring that I bring a smile onto somebody else's face. So a leisure activity must ensure both a fun
Okay.
activity for myself and an altruistic act for somebody else. Yeah.
Right. But it's interesting you say that, I would say, and I'm sure a bunch of dancers are watching it or will watch it later, but I do know that having interviewed so many dancers, they often really say that their profession, I think dance is one of those professions that truly feeds the soul. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
almost all of them told me this, that the challenges and the ups and downs and the highs and lows of the, of the industry, because it really,
I'm
really feeds.
sorry, Akila, I lost you there. You said most dancers tell me it feeds the soul.
Yeah.
I lost you there.
I was saying that most dancers that I have interviewed often tell me, and I know this because so many dancers continue to sort of pursue dance despite the highs and lows of the industry and of the dynamics of the market and all of that, because they believe that as a profession that they pursue, it truly feeds the soul. So,
Mm-hmm.
so when you said that, they're lucky, I would say that, it clearly seems to me that dancers seem to really enjoy what they're doing. So so would your profession itself, could it become like leisure? You're saying no, right?
You're blessed if it is. I'm not saying no. I'm just saying
Okay.
you're very blessed and you really need
Right.
to count your blessings. Not everyone walks in the same shoes.
Right, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
For sure. Sunita, I'm curious about, like, you must be meeting a whole bunch of, people with, come to you with different concerns and sort of to let their hair down and to like speak their mind and like, I'm just kind of keen. How do you find time for this?
Um, yeah, my job is very stressful from 9 to 9. I won't
Right.
deny that. Um, and then sometimes there is counter transference with my clients. I won't deny that too. But unfortunately, in India, we don't have an established system, because when I was in Singapore, every 10 hours we needed to go for therapy to a supervisor. So it's
Oh,
10:1 ratio. Otherwise, our license is not renewed every year. But somehow in India, we don't have any systems. So most of us therapists don't go for supervision. And I'm guilty too. I cheat. It's every 30 or 35 hours now I get a supervisor, because I know it's not mandatory for me for every 10 hours to get a supervisor. So we go for therapy too. Supervision essentially is where we discuss our very difficult cases, and we also share with the supervisor wherever we had countertransference with our client. So there is a detox happening there. So that's one way I detox. The other way is I don't wait for long holidays. Every 6 weeks, I go for a 3-day weekend somewhere. I think it's very important because I see it more as recharging my battery for the next 6 weeks.
Right,
That's
6 weeks.
what leisure is. Yeah, leisure is all about recharging your batteries, right? You can't deplete it entirely and then have burnout and say, I'm done. No. So you keep, yeah, that's how I do it. I get away. I go somewhere.
Right, lovely. Smita, I just want to sort of close this by asking you a little bit about the need for therapy. Like, I was having this intense conversation with a friend of mine recently about, he was asking me, have you been to therapy, and like, how has it helped you? And I was trying to kind of like crystallize my responses in terms of why I sought therapy and what were some of the key takeaways from it. And so I want to ask you, like, at what point, for people who listen in, at what point because I do know that still a lot of people, are not okay with therapy. They just probably think that they can deal with it on their own, or they think that, what am I going to get out of it that I don't know already? So there is some sort of some misconceptions around the idea of therapy. So I just wanted to understand from you, at what point does one know that they need to seek therapy, and what, according to you, does therapy really do? I mean, in terms of improving your mental well-being, so to speak.
Uh, we always tell our clients, if you need to feel the impact of therapy, it's going to happen only after you complete therapy. You're never going to know what therapy did for you until then.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And number two is, every client, we believe, already knows how to deal with issues in their life.
Mm-hmm.
They merely
Mm-hmm.
come to us to
Mm.
seek validation.
Mm.
So when a client comes in, it's most often to take a brain dump, as we say, with the therapist. Yeah, that's
Right.
what they come for. But I'm talking about people who have presenting issues that don't involve mental illnesses or mental disorders, who are just looking for some kind of a solution, or
Mm-hmm.
they just want to align their thoughts and process things that are happening in their life. I'm talking about such people. But of course, people who do have personality disorders or addictions or psychosis, for sure they're coming in for some serious work, and that's a different ball game entirely. I think everybody needs to go to a therapist at least once in their lifetime.
I agree.
Yeah. When I did my master's in CBT, professional counseling, we were compelled to go for 5 hours, because it was told to us that you need to sit on that chair in order to know how it is to be. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Sunita, I just have one question before I close. I just want to ask you, while speaking about leisure, you spoke about, about it being something that you do, which is experiential, which makes you happy and all of that. What about doing nothing?
As an idle time?
Yeah, like, isn't doing nothing, like, for me, like, doing nothing is just like I just crave, like, that's my leisure, like, doing nothing. Like, I just want to have like one day of like not even having to like read a book, watch Netflix, write a story, nothing. Like, just do nothing.
That's fine. That's absolutely fine. But I'm going to say this, Akila, because most of your audience are from the world of dance, right? Creative. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we also need to see what the profile of your audience is. So I'll say this. Yes. Somehow for dancers, musicians, I find that when they have too much idle time, the mind gets overactive. There's a lot
Okay.
of overthinking happening,
Right.
because a lot of people from the creative world, there are certain what would I say, some commonalities between people from the creative world, One is they need a lot of approval, a lot of validation from the outside world, because they see not so much about power and control, but just wanting recognition, wanting admiration, wanting attention. And so if they unplug and stay idle for a while, it begins to take a toll on them, overthinking. So I don't know whether idle time is really healthy. As long as you don't go, you want to take a break from your work, but ensure you're doing something that keeps your body and mind active, right?
Right. Okay.
That's why I said earlier on, leisure should have nothing to do with your profession. That is leisure. Yeah.
Wow. Thank you so much, Sunita, for that really conversation. You know, that back in the day, I would do Instagram, conversations that were like 45 minutes, an hour long. But I think the world opening up, people's attention spans have come down. People are like, busy. So we usually like, save it on IGTV and people listen to it and then add questions. So if there are any questions that come to us later, then I'll reach out to you and have them answered.
Sure.
Okay?
All right.
So much, doing
Most
this.
welcome.
Bye-bye.
Most welcome, Akila. Bye-bye. See you.